Happy Monday. How's it going? Welcome to this week's live Q&A with me. I'm Julie. I am a regenerative health practitioner, a holistic nutritionist, and basically on my channel, I share all kinds of information on how you can get your health back on track. I answer questions on Mondays. And so today I have a couple of questions. These are questions that I get all the time. And so let's hop to it. One of the questions that I get all the time, and I got it again this week, is how exactly to do a parasite cleanse and what kind of parasite cleanse. And this is one of those things that there's no blanket response that I can give you because it really depends on the person and their state of health. And generally, what I like to do with parasite cleansing, I do have a process that I work with. The first thing is we always look to the diet and what's going on in terms of your diet currently. Second thing is, are your elimination pathways open? Very, very important to make sure elimination pathways are open before you start cleansing and detoxing, because if you start taking anti-parasitic herbs and you're not going to the bathroom on a regular basis, what is going to end up happening is all of these things are going to start to get stirred up in your body, and the parasites are not going to be able to eliminate out. And it can actually be really, really uncomfortable. Not only can it be uncomfortable, but you could actually end up having to go to the hospital, which is not ideal. And I understand where people are coming from, because let's say you make a decision that you want to do a cleanse and you're like, okay, let's just do it. You're ready to roll up your sleeves and dive in. But think of it this way. You would never just run a marathon without any preparation, right? My friends and I are preparing to do a couple of half marathons next year, and we are actually doing our prep work now, right? We're starting to get some miles under our belt, starting to train and prepare our body so that we can actually do a half marathon. So just like you wouldn't just run a marathon I'm going to get my hydrogen bottle going actually. Oh, and I had to sneeze apparently. So just like you wouldn't just run a marathon out of the blue without any prep, you don't start cleansing your body without any prep. So when I work with my clients, month one, we're transitioning the diet. What do I mean by that? I mean starting to eliminate processed foods, dairy, meats, fish, all of that stuff. The reason is that these are the very foods that bring getting my bottle going. These are the very foods that create an environment within the body where parasites thrive. They're also the foods that generally tend to bring parasites into the body. So if you're trying to get rid of parasites, but you're eating the foods that actually bring the parasites in and make your body a safe environment for parasites to thrive, you're not going to be able to detox, right? Think of it this way. Most people understand that alcohol is a very, very toxic substance to the body. And nobody gets upset, or at least most people don't get upset when I tell them that if you're trying to detox your body, you have to abstain from alcohol. So the same things apply. Foods that are very, very acidic in the body, that are very mucus forming, and also bring in pathogens and parasites, it's best to avoid those foods when you're trying to detox. Am I telling you you need to avoid those foods forever? No. I mean, I personally avoid foods that I know are toxic and stagnating to the body, and I know are very hard for the body to digest, but different people make different choices, right? I will tell you that certain foods are very, very acid forming, and it is really, really hard for your body to break those foods down. Digestion is the most intensive, labor intensive, and energy intensive process that your body goes through. So when you're eating foods that are very, very hard for your body to break down, never mind, on the one side, they might be bringing in pathogens and parasites into your body. But then on top of that, they're very, very difficult for your body to break those kinds of foods down. Then you're actually giving your body a lot of extra work, which means your body has no time to repair itself. So, for example, a slice of pizza with, like, let's say cheese and pepperoni on it, that will actually take your body anywhere from about 17 hours in the small intestine to possibly even more. 17 to about 22 hours for your body to break down. So think of how much work it is for your body to just break down a slice of pizza. And let's say that you're having the typical Western American breakfast, which is eggs, toast, bacon, and coffee. By the time you go to bed, if you're having that for breakfast, by the time you go to bed, your body hasn't even completely broken down and utilized what little nutrients there are in that breakfast. So you go to bed, your body's still digesting breakfast. You've probably had lunch and dinner on top of that. So then you go into the next day and your body's still trying to process the food from the day before. Do you realize how much work that is for your body? It's like mind blowing, right? So in month one, so somebody said, I've been seeing so many ads. Lori said, so I've been seeing so many ads on Instagram for cleansing in 5 days. Seems dangerous to do it that quickly. You can't cleanse in 5 days. Anybody who tells you you can cleanse in 5 days is straight up lying to you. You know, it's a process. And in regenerative detox, one of the things that I really focus on is the proper steps, because if you do the steps properly, number one, it's not going to be overwhelming for you. You're not going to be laid up in bed with detox symptoms, and you're actually going to honor how your body works. So in month one, we're transitioning the diet and making sure elimination pathways are open. That means that you need to be able to sweat. You need to be able to go to the bathroom, number two, at least 2 to 3 times a day. If that is not happening, your body is not ready to go do deeper detox. So we have to make sure that your body is properly prepared. So now in my work with people, we take about 20 days, maybe more, to do that prep work. And then once you're ready, we'll do a gentle parasite cleanse that lasts about 10 days. Then we usually pause it for 2 weeks. We go back in again for another 10 days. That's just round one. Then I like to go doing deeper heavy metal detox. Like, I use different tools. This is one of the tools that I use, but it also depends on the person and what's going on for them and what are the symptoms. Are they dealing with any chronic health conditions? Are they dealing with 2 or 3 autoimmune conditions, which is very, very common these days, unfortunately. And so we got to start to get the heavy metals out more deeply, because parasites feed on heavy metals, right? So we got to do that heavy metal detox. And then usually I like to do a plant enzyme protocol if at all possible. That's usually about 7 days. And then we go into round two of parasite cleansing, which can be 60 to 90 days, depending on the person, depending on the symptoms. And there I work with different herbs than what I used in the first round. And the reason that I use different types of herbal supports is because parasites are very smart, they're very sneaky, and they get used to the same thing. So I don't use the same thing. I usually cycle about between 2 to 3 different types of parasite cleanses over the course of the year. Like, I myself do at least 3 parasite cleanses. I just today started my 3rd parasite cleanse for the year. We're heading into the end of October. It'll probably be at least 60 days. I'll be, closing out the year most likely on a parasite cleanse, maybe even going into the new year on a parasite cleanse, depending on what comes up. And this is why it is really, really important to work with somebody who's qualified to actually guide you. This is not something that you want to be guessing about. And if you are not properly supported, it can create a lot of problems for you. Parasites most of the time don't show up on stool tests because they don't willingly leave your body. So oftentimes I have people message me and they go, "Well, I did a stool test and there were no parasites." Well, of course, you're not going to have parasites on a stool test because they're not willingly leaving your body. They're unwelcome house guests. Now, we have trillions and trillions and trillions of microbes within our body. Most of those microbes we have a symbiotic relationship with, and they're beneficial for us, right? We have beneficial bacteria on our skin, in our gut, everywhere in our body. Parasites are microorganisms, pathogens, worms that just take and take and take and take. They take your nutrients. They can really mess up your nervous system. They can affect your mood. They can affect how your body functions. And when you have the thought of like, oh my goodness, I want to do a parasite cleanse and I want to go after these guys, they will actually put up a fuss. They will mess with your mood. They will start to create more anxiety, more depression. And those are all their tactics. They'll make the cravings even more intense because they thrive on certain types of foods like processed foods, processed sugar, meat, dairy, eggs, fish. They'll want those kinds of foods because they want to be fed. And if you're not wise to their tricks, you're going to fall for it. You really will. And I can tell you, as a practitioner, when I do parasite cleansing, I'm in league with a whole bunch of other regenerative health practitioners, and they're my support system as I go through this process. I don't go through it by myself. Nobody can heal on their own. We heal in community. It's really important to understand that, embody that, and make sure that you're working with somebody who takes a truly holistic approach. Now, if you like what I have to say about parasite cleansing and going deeper and really taking a proper systematic approach to eliminating them and cycling through different types of herbs, I have a group program where I've really outlined this whole process from start to finish. And in that group program that lasts like several months, I actually have like ultimately 3 different parasite protocols that you go through. There's like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And if you go through the whole thing from start to finish, you will have addressed the parasites as long as you change your diet and you make all those other changes I suggest as well. And then once you do that whole deep program, then you would just be doing maintenance 2 to 3 times a year, which is what I do these days. Now, the only reason I'm doing a longer parasite cleanse is if you saw my video from last week, I was on a sanctuary. I was at an animal sanctuary, so I was exposed to all kinds of animals. And as much as I love animals, I have 3 dogs. If you are somebody who has animals in your life, the chances that you have parasites are much higher. The other thing is one of the herbal supports that I work with. We had a call with one of the founders of that company, and he said the best way to tell if you have a parasite is you just take your pulse. That's it. That's how you tell. Everybody has parasites. So there's nothing to be freaked out about. To me, parasite cleansing is as basic and as important as if you have a car, you go and you get regular oil changes. You don't get mad at your car and go, well, oh my goodness, you're not working the way that I want you to be working. Meanwhile, you haven't gotten an oil change in 6 years. Right? Most people, from my experience, have never done a parasite cleanse, or if they haven't parasite cleansed properly, and they freak themselves out. And actually, a lot of times when someone is feeling that fear and anxiety, it's not even their fear, their anxiety. It is the fear and the anxiety of the parasites that have overtaken their nervous system and are perpetuating those emotions. And I say this because when I was doing like deep parasite cleansing, I experienced I had days where I experienced anxiety and depression and fear. And thankfully I'm pretty like in tune with my thoughts. And I was like, well, wait a minute, why am I feeling like this? There's no reason for me to be upset or anxious or in a state of fear. Like, what's going on here? And then I had like this light bulb go on in my head. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's the parasites. They're like really messing with me. And sure enough, Once I cleared them out of my system, I was like super calm, super steady. And like I have a clarity and a steadiness, especially now, because I did like 2 rounds of pretty intensive parasite cleansing. One was like mid-January to mid-April, and then the other one was from like late May to about late August. And so though the effects of those 2 rounds are still present in my body, this third parasite cleanse that I'm doing is just more of like, I know that I was just at a sanctuary, so I spent time with some animals, so I want to make sure that I just clean out my system, just doing my due diligence, right? So I know parasites is a deep topic. I can talk about it for hours and hours and hours. And if I was able to share my screen, I could share pictures. But basically, especially if you are dealing with brain fog, fatigue, autoimmune, cancer, any kind of chronic health issue, it's definitely important to do parasite cleansing as a part of your protocol. And if you've never done a parasite cleanse, then it's definitely important to do parasite cleansing on the regular, like especially if you're consuming animal products and fish and dairy, because those foods are very, very inviting for parasites. So I hope that answered that question. And Lori said, wow, I guess I'm way overdue. Yep. Yep. Hey, and until I started doing this work, and when I was in the process of reversing hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's in my body, I didn't know that this was something that I had to do. And when I started to do the work and got rid of started to deal with the parasites and noticed how much it changed my health and how much better I started to feel, that was when I realized like how essential this type of work is. And unfortunately, it's not common knowledge, and most people don't know about it at all. So thank you so much for choosing to be here live. And for anybody who's catching the replay, thanks for watching the video. Feel free to share this information with anyone you think can benefit. If you have questions, drop it into the comments. If you want to go through your own parasite cleansing, you can check out my group membership, Elevate, because that walks you right through it. You could also work with me one-on-one if you choose, especially if you're dealing with any serious chronic health issues. One-on-one might be the better option for you. So I hope you have a beautiful day. I appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of my online community, and I will see you in next week's live. Bye for now.